After an intense battle in the closing laps of last week's race, Daniel Knight came home with the win and has taken the championship lead out of the hands of Bradley Holly for the first time since early last season. But this week, we move from the confines of Lucas Oil Raceway to the quote-unquote standard mile-and-a-half of Kentucky. Will Holly be able to bounce back? Will Daniel Knight be able to cling to his lead, or will another driver take his chance to sneak a win? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 4 of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series sponsored by Diecast Kings. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. I am Adam Lindgren, and joining me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Our director tonight will be Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. Kentucky Speedway could not be any more different than Indy's shorter track, but to find out exactly how different it is, let's go down to our track guide.
This is Sparta, Kentucky, and Kentucky Speedway. 1.5 miles of asphalt and one of the more interesting trials to come out of the mid to late 90s track boom opening in the year 2000. Sure, you might think it's a basic trial, but look at the track map and it'll show you that turns 1 and 2 are, well, blunter. Also makes it a little bit more sweeping. But the bottom line is that it isn't as symmetric. Turns 3 and 4, so you have to approach them differently. This became even more crucial to note after the track reconfiguration in 2016. Before, both 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 were 14 degrees, but now 1 and 2 have been brought up to 17 degrees. That 3 degrees makes a big difference here. Another big change was that they narrowed the track in 1 and 2 by 16 feet, and that's about 2.5 car widths of a Gen 6 Cup car for reference. Enough of a difference that it changed the line going into the corner. They left turns 3 and 4 alone during the reconfiguration, with the exception of some new asphalt. So the tendency that most cars have to get loose off 4 still as present today as ever. Today, all of NASCAR's National Touring Series run here. The ARCA Series usually makes one stop here, if not 2. The trucks are known for putting on a fantastic show, and the iRacing B Series cars have had some good races here as well over the last few years. And of course, the Cup Series cars will barrel around here. IndyCar ran some races here in the early 2000s, and while real-life IndyCar doesn't make the trip anymore, many iRacing IndyCar leagues still do and put on a great show. Now, sit back and enjoy today's race in the Bluegrass State.
And there you saw a couple laps around Kentucky Speedway in a couple of different machines. But Chris, how are the trucks handling this race tonight?
Well, this fixed setup that they have here tonight is not the friendliest to this track. The trucks look very loose. Look for trouble zones here at Kentucky to be turn number 3. That's got a bit of a tricky entrance to it. Other than that, this is essentially what you'd consider basically a standard issue mile-and-a-half track for these NASCAR type vehicles. It's a 1.5 mile tri-oval, moderate amounts of banking. Look for there to be at least a couple grooves of racing, and with these trucks and their engine configuration, Adam, it's going to be a momentum game as we've seen in a lot of these races.
It definitely will, for sure. And as always with the races, we're going to talk about some of our sponsors as well. Our season sponsor for this race is Diecast Kings. Shop Diecast Kings, your home for the best selection of NHRA, NASCAR, and this season they're introducing IndyCar diecasts. Pick yours up today at diecastkings.com. And Chris, why don't you talk about their league sponsor as well?
That's right. Our league sponsor this season is the ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Visit thebuttkicker.com today to view their full line of products.
Yeah, Chris, and one thing that's actually better than real life is our points situation right now, which is turning out to be a cracker this season. Daniel Knight currently leads the points in the Drivers' Championship, just 1 point over Bradley Holly. Those two have been swapping wins ever since the start of the season. Jared Mogard is third place, 16 points back, and that's just because he had one race where he finished outside of the top 5. Then we have Charles Sumner and Adam Zemke, who are 4th and 5th back there, 21 points and 22 points back as well. And Chris, you have the team's championship for us as well.
That's right. Not quite as close as our individual driver championship, but still a pretty small gap between first and second, just 14 points between the Jelly Rolls Racing Squad and Car Ramrod, and just another 6 points back is the Ride and Shotgun Rangers that are within striking distance of second place and could definitely make a move here if things turn out right towards the front of the standings. The Back Row Racing Squad, 30 points back, and then just kind of hanging on there to the back of the top 5 is the Rescue Racing Camo Rescue Squad.
And for those of you who may be joining us for the first time or need a little bit of a refresher, this is round 4 of 10 in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. They're racing the NASCAR Gator RV and Outdoor Series trucks. They have 85 laps that they're going to be running here, or 60 minutes, whichever comes first. And like Chris said in the pre-race, fixed setup for these guys. They have 4 total sets of tires, the first that they start on, and 3 more in the pits for them. They have 24 incident limit. That's a hard incident cap. If you go over that, you get disqualified. They're also running 100% fuel, and they do not get a spare truck in the pits, so they have to live with any damage that they end up with. Now, if you want to have your company show up right here in this spot or many other locations, GSRC has some available advertising options for you. We have series sponsorships, race awards, ad reads, replay transitions. We can pretty much do it all depending on what you'd like. The channel boasts over 1 million global monthly impressions, and if you want to find out more, you can follow the link into the description, and we will get in contact with you for sure. All right, we have 1 minute, 20 seconds left in practice. And Chris, like you said, those sets are looking extremely loose today, but we have been seeing some side-by-side battles in practice, so that gives me hope for the race.
You know, Adam, there's been a few of these tracks that we've gone to this season where going into the race we're a little iffy on how the quality of actual side-by-side racing is going to be. And it seems like each time we have those reservations, the race ends up turning out to be a pretty good one. And I think this one could be a sleeper for people that are tuning in at home. You know, you kind of come into these types of tracks with a certain perception and a mindset of them, but these races that we've had this season for PRL have turned out to be really good, and we could be in store for that this evening as well.
Yeah, that's definitely the hope. We have Bradley Holly at the top of the leaderboard in practice with Thomas Sink in second, just about 3 100ths back of him. Mark Kalin in third. He's only about 6 100ths back of Bradley Holly. And then we have Jared Mogart and Charles Sumner rounding out the top 5 in practice as they go around here. And these trucks are definitely looking racy. I think the loose setup has it really on edge for these machines. And one thing I've been noticing is that if you get to that left rear quarter panel and just put a little bit of air on it into the braking zones into turns 1 and 3, that ends up moving that truck that you're racing against up the line. So it'll be interesting to see that for sure as they continue to race onward. Our practice is wrapping up right now, and we are about to jump into our qualifying session. It will be 1 lap of closed qualifying. That means each truck will have the track entirely to themselves.
And looking at practice times, Bradley Holly was the one that was on top of the charts, but that was not a very big lead that he had. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys are able to back up those times here in qualifying.
And speaking of that, one thing we forgot to check in on is the weather conditions out there right now. Now, it's a night race, and it is currently 76 in air temperature and 78 in track temperature here at 9:50 p.m. Virtual Standard Time. This race is going to go late, folks. Looks like they might have had a rain delay previously. No wind to talk about and 60% humidity about, so that should be not that much of an issue for them, but it just might make them slide around just a little bit more.
That's right. The track being cooler is also going to mean that it's faster. So maybe we'll see some times get even quicker in qualifying.
All right, so we do have some trucks out there right now. Thomas Sink, our second place driver, is out making some laps around there right now. He's trying to get his first time in of the day. Ooh, the 44 truck ends up spinning around just a little bit off of the corner. That's Nicholas Schwartz in that 44 machine. He's going to have to hope that his rear tires didn't get too heated up for that second lap as he starts to come around to get going for finish off his first lap. It will be a banker, but he'll need to go around one more time to have a competitive time.
He did a great job of saving it, though. I got to say that much. The back end should have, by all rights, gone all the way around on that truck.
So Schwartz is about 2 seconds off of our leading truck right now, which is Thomas Sink, who just jumped up at the top of the leaderboard, went purple in that number 48 machine, the Whataback sponsored machine. He is got a 31.197 right now. Colton Lane in 4th, and Mike Richter jumps up to 2nd place just underneath Thomas Sink by about 4/100ths of a second.
Yeah, Mike Richter is one of those guys that can really bust out a really solid qualifying appearance every now and then, and kind of catches you off guard a little bit with how quick he can be.
Daniel Knight jumps up to the top, and then Thomas Sink immediately usurps him once again, so that second lap is definitely faster for both of them, as Bradley Hawley still is now just starting his first couple of laps, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not he can jump Thomas Sink and take the pole for this race, as he was fastest in practice.
I gotta say, Adam, that was really solid use of the word usurp.
Well, I do like to pride myself on my exquisite vocabulary, but unfortunately we don't get to use it that much around here, as Bradley Hawley comes onto the backstretch. He's still on his first flying lap. He goes through turns 3 and 4, and turns 3 and 4 are far less banked than turns 1 and 2, and that can catch a driver by surprise the first time they go around this track.
Yeah, I called this kind of a standard issue 1.5 mile track, but those turns 3 and 4 here are pretty tricky. It's kind of similar in issue to what drivers deal with racing at Texas Motor Speedway, which is another part of the SMI family like Kentucky is. But yeah, turn 3 and 4 are really the hardest part of this track.
So Brett Adams, the 31.9 is not going to be a great time for him. But Bradley Hawley, only good enough for 5th position on his first lap. But here he comes around for his second lap off of turn 4. He dives it down to the apron as Matthew Aubry goes around again. Bradley does cross the line with a 31.178, and that is good enough for 2nd position, but he does not beat Thomas Sink to the pole, so Thomas Sink gets that extra point for the pole position. That's going to be hurting Bradley Hawley a little bit there, but his championship contender, Daniel Knight, currently sits in 6th place as we get ready to wrap up qualifying. Still 1 minute to go, and a couple trucks left on track that have yet to qualify.
Yeah, kind of an uncharacteristic performance from Daniel Knight. He's usually a bit of a stronger qualifier than we've seen today.
Matthew Aubry coming around. His last lap was good enough for 20th position, but is his next lap going to be any faster? It looks like it will not be, unfortunately. So Matthew Aubry down to the 21st position. Tristan Callahan, though, goes up to 4th position on his second lap, so an impressive run from him. Adam Zemke only good enough for the 19th. Oh, wow. Up to P5 after that lap. So these second laps are definitely faster for these machines. Wow, Aaron Webb up to P4. These guys putting in very fast times on those second laps.
Yeah, the second lap has really been the one, the money lap, so to speak. As looks like Thomas Sink's still on top, but look at times just cracking in.
A very, very tight qualifying. In fact, all of our qualifiers except for Brett Adams are within 1 second of pole, so very tight for sure. But that is going to close off qualifying and take us to the grid. Thomas Sink will take pole in this race over Adam Shane, who comes in the 2nd position very late on in qualifying. Bradley Hawley's going to line up behind Thomas Sink in 3rd with Mike Richter in 4th. Aaron Webb jumps up to the 5th position with Tristan Callahan in 6th spot. Adam Zemke in 7th. Doug Evans lines up 8th. Daniel Knight all the way back in 9th for his starting position, and Jared Mogard in the U-Car starts off in 10th.
Just outside of the top 10 is going to be Colton Lane in truck number 60, starting off 11th, followed by Brendan Chatley outside of him. Row number 7 will be Charles Sumner in the lucky 13th position with Blaine Adams next to him. Row number 8 is going to be composed of Jose Medina and Brandon Walter, with Austin Hunter and Christopher Williams in row 9. Completing your top 20 starters is going to be Mark Kalin in 19th and J.R. Bash completing the top 20.
Matthew Aubry is going to start off in 21st with Adam Young in 22nd place, Brandon Sauls 23rd, Nicholas Schwartz 24th, 25th is going to be Stacy Hunter, followed by William Lee in 26th, Nicholas Hunter in 27th, Brett Adams 28th, John LeBath in 29th, and Baron Hilton has a penalty. He's going to start off back of the field for us today. Now we do want to bring up our race sponsor. This week it is iRacing Flea Market. iRacing Flea Market is the place to go for fast buying and selling of sim racing equipment, boasting the largest sim racing buy-sell group with over 20,000 members. Be sure to join and look around today. Their link is in the description. iRacing Flea Market, the #1 sim racing page on Facebook. All right, Chris, as we get ready to get rolling here for this race, round 4 here of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series, sponsored by Diecast Kings. What are your expectations going into this one? Do you think Bradley Holly and Thomas Sink will be able to run away with it? Or do you expect that we're going to see Adam Shane and Mike Richter put a challenge to him?
Well, it's always nice to see a couple names that we don't see at the very front of the field too often starting up front. So maybe that gives me some hope. We might have some dark horses come to the forefront in this one. I want to keep an eye on Daniel Knight starting a lot deeper than we expected here at 9th. And even Bradley Holly starting 3rd was a little bit unexpected. So we could be in for a little bit of a topsy-turvy race here today, and I am here for it.
The driver I'm keeping my eyes on is Jared Mogard starting off in the 10th position. Jared has been very aggressive in practice, and we know that he evens it out during the race a little bit, but it'll still be interesting to see him claw through the field, as he seems to take more than he gives in these races.
That's definitely a good one to keep your eye on.
And if you want to keep your eye on all of the trucks, no matter where they are in the field, make sure to keep your eyes on GSRC.tv. That is our live timing and scoring. That is GSRC.tv. Just type that into your browser. You'll be able to keep track of all the trucks, no matter where they're running, even if we don't have the cameras on them. So as they come through turn 4, Thomas Sink will lead them to the line. They will be heading up towards the restart zone. And this will actually be the start zone for this time around. Thomas Sink leading them to the line, and Adam Shane actually staying off about half a lane behind. He pulls up now. Thomas Sink waits until the restart zone and then makes an immediate jump. Adam Shane gets a decent run off to the top side. Bradley Holly pushing Thomas Sink through into 1. He's actually going to look to the high side here as Thomas Sink stays all the way down the low side. Bradley Holly, though, unable to get a run. Here we go through 1 and 2. Thomas Sink still leading. Bradley Holly with a decent run, though. He might try and make a pass.
Yeah, Bradley Holly peeking to the inside there a little bit. Absolutely wasted no time on that restart. Was pretty much sitting in the bed of the truck of the 48 of Thomas Sink on that start.
Adam Shane had a horrible start. He goes from 2nd place, and he's all the way back down to 12th right now as these two goes almost side by side up for the lead. Look at that, Bradley Holly looking at the high side here, trying to make a wide arc into 1 and 2 and try and get a run here on Thomas Sink. But Thomas Sink holding it down to that yellow line and making some good speed out of the corner. Bradley Holly still has a run. I don't think he's got enough to try and take a look, though.
Yeah, with the limit on tires, it's interesting to see these guys pushing this hard right on the initial start. But Bradley Holly is wasting no time in trying to push Thomas Sink to use up the stuff here early on.
We knocked down 2 of the 85 laps scheduled for this race, with Thomas Sink still in the lead. Bradley Holly in 2nd. Aaron Webb moves up to 3rd, but he's being challenged by Mike Richter for the 4th position, who's just trying to make a move on the outside. Unable to do so, though. Tristan Callahan down in 5th. Oh, look. Oh, contact! That's going to send him around, unfortunately, off the nose. That's the 85 getting sent around there. Aaron Webb unceremoniously spun on the entrance of 3. This is an interesting wreck to unfold, Chris, and it looks like the 51 did not expect the 85 to turn in at that point. Just got to his inside quarter panel, and the 85 turns in for the corner, and that's where the contact happens. A lot of trucks involved with that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looked to me a little bit like 51 didn't quite have position on him, but definitely would not have. Wow, that could not have been any closer.
Christopher B. Williams locking up the tires there to try and avoid the wreck and end up just skirting by. That's as close as you can get, but a lot of trucks with damage after this one. And as we come up to pit lane, it'll be interesting to see how many we lose down there to get some damage. But as they run, Thomas Sink, Bradley Holly in 2nd, Mike Richter in 3rd, Tristan Callahan 4th, and Daniel Knight up to 5th from his starting position of 9th.
Yeah, that's a performance that we kind of expected out of Daniel Knight. Coming into this one, he started a little bit deeper than we expected, but he's already clicked off a lot of positions to be up in the top 4 already.
So some drivers coming in for damage repairs are Mark Kalin and Brandon Sauls. Mark was from the 18th position, Brandon from the 24th position. They both got damage from that as well. The rest of the field looks like they're clean and ready to keep racing here as we start our first caution of the day.
I'm kind of surprised to not see Christopher B. Williams go down pit road just for a change of pants.
Yeah, the changing of the fire suit is absolutely one of those things that we talk about almost every week here, and it's just, we see some fantastic avoidances here in the PRL Truck Series. These drivers seem to have a good understanding of how the trucks handle, especially in adverse conditions.
Yeah, and having a truck parked right in front of you is definitely adverse conditions.
So on the first caution of the day, they were able to get 4 clean laps in, and this wreck didn't seem like it was anyone taking a little bit too much out of it in these trucks. I think it was just a miscommunication between the two drivers, so hopefully we can get to some green flag running shortly after this.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like one of them racing deals, as they like to say. Two drivers just kind of going for the same piece of real estate on track, and did not quite work out.
Like you said, Chris, I am a little bit surprised to see them running that hard at the beginning of this race, especially considering the fact that, like you said, they only have 3 sets of tires waiting for them in the pits. So if they use up this set too early, they're going to run out of tires towards the end of this race, especially if we have more cautions like this one.
Yeah, it really surprised me, especially with Bradley Holly just racing so aggressively, not really trying to pass Thomas Sink, but definitely was trying to make Thomas work a little bit harder.
Looks like Mike Richter might be having a little bit of connection issues. He's really struggling to keep his truck on track, unfortunately. He's our 3rd place driver at the moment, so he will stay down to the apron to make sure that he doesn't make contact with anyone else. But Jared Mogard only up to 8th position from his starting position of 10th, whereas Daniel Knight jumped up to 5th from 9th spot. So it looks like that high line just was not the preferred way to start this race.
Yeah, we saw it even with Bradley Holly, able to make such strong moves on his start. That inside line really went, but it almost seemed like the outside line was just not prepared for the start.
And it seemed to me like a lot of the drivers who were trying to make the outside work just couldn't carry as much speed as the inside lane, which is a little bit surprising to me, considering in these trucks they tend to be momentum machines, and especially with the lower banking in 3 and 4, I would have expected them to be able to carry a little bit more speed through that top line, or especially if they were to do a late apex.
Well, I think with the momentum-based setup on these trucks, it really does seem to me like it on some of these tracks, especially ones with a little bit less banking, it takes them a lap or two to get going to be able to have the momentum wound up to be able to make that outside line work. And I think that might have been kind of what we were seeing there. Because it seemed like maybe by laps 3 or so, a couple guys were testing that outside a little bit, but it just seems like it's taken them a little time to get the momentum built up.
So the pace lights are off on our iRacing pace car here. Thomas Sink will lead them to the line with Bradley Hawley lining up outside of him. Mike Richter's going to line up in 3rd with Tristan Callahan lining up in the 4th spot. Daniel Knight will line up in 5th. Adam Zemke 6th. Doug Evans 7th. Jared Mogard 8th. Colton Lane up to 9th, and Charles Sumner up to the 10th spot. So as they head back down the backstretch, getting ready to go for this restart, are you expecting the same kind of racing here, considering we've only had 4 laps on these tires?
I wouldn't be surprised if they calm it down a little bit after how aggressive the initial start was, but then again, it could be equally as fast and furious on the return to racing here.
So the Mustang pace car gets ready to pull off, and Thomas Sink will lead them to the line. Last time he waited until the restart zone to get going, but he has no obligation to do so here in iRacing. He can start whenever that pace car leaves, so the pace car pulls off. Thomas Sink now in control of the field. He's going to wait. He's trying to catch Bradley Holly off guard. Bradley's legendary at restarts, and Bradley gets another good one concerning Thomas Sink unable to get away from him. He's going to pull all the way down underneath the apron across the start-finish line, and is going to be able to pull on Bradley Holly as he goes the long way around on the high side. Thomas Sink leads into 1 and 2, but Tristan Callahan and Mike Richter still side by side. Richter actually falls off of Tristan Callahan, the outside working well this time around, but Bradley Holly on a good challenge here, right up to the back bumper of Thomas Sink.
I'm really surprised that he didn't take a peek to the inside.
He definitely thought about it for sure. Mike Richter decides that his connection issues are too much. He actually pulled off into pit lane, unfortunately, so he's going to be out of this race, at least competitively for sure. But Bradley Holly still right on the back of Thomas Sink there. Tristan Callahan almost half a second back of them with Adam Zemke for company. Daniel Knight following in behind him. Jared Mogard moved up to the 6th spot off of that restart. He's now chasing down Daniel Knight, our current championship leader.
Yeah, Mogard must have gotten a whale of a restart. He gained, what are the 3 or 4 positions already just off of that restart.
That's Tristan Callahan, you see on the high side there, trying to make a pass over Adam Zemke. He's able to do so. Daniel Knight's going to try and do the same thing around the outside. Adam Zemke getting bogged down on the inside lane, just unable to keep the speed going. But Daniel Knight has some significant rear end damage there. It doesn't seem to be affecting his straight line speed though, as he makes a nice slingshot move, gets up to the high side there on Adam Zemke, who just was unable to get the run off the corner. You see Doug Evans tucked in there behind the double O machine of Jared Mogard as well. Daniel Knight, though, proving that that outside lane can carry some speed around this track.
Yeah, it's kind of like we talked about under that last caution, Adam. A couple laps in, and these guys got the trucks wound up, and now that outside groove is definitely clicking for Daniel Knight.
Daniel proving a theory that lots of us had, but no, we didn't see any in effect during the practice session. He's actually going to go to the outside of Tristan Callahan here. If he's able to slingshot past both of these drivers, that's going to be truly impressive. He's definitely got the speed, and he's carrying the momentum off the corner. Daniel Knight doing an excellent job carrying that speed on that high side. I think he's going to clear Tristan before they hit 1.
If he doesn't have him clear, it's going to be very close, and actually he does before he gets to turn 1, Adam. Daniel Knight is just cruising right now.
Jared Mogard on the bottom side of Adam Zemke as they go through 1 and 2. He's trying a different theory on Adam Zemke, but Adam just saw what Daniel Knight can do, and he's thinking, you know what, I could probably do the same thing. He's going to carry some speed on the high side, and Adam Zemke in that 42 machine is going to be able to pull free and clear of Jared Mogard as they go off the corner. We're on board with him now.
I mean, the best way to pass these other competitors is to run where they aren't. And if very few guys are trying that outside, if you can make it work, you're going to have a clear path to the front.
Zemke gets a bad run into 1 and 2. Jared Mogard to his inside now. He's looking to the inside of Adam Zemke. Zemke's trapped up behind Tristan Callahan, but now it's going to be Mogard trapped up behind Callahan as Zemke tries to carry speed into the corner, but he's a little bit out of the groove. This will ruin a little bit of his momentum off the corner, but he manages to keep it going, and he's able to stay ahead right now of Jared Mogard. Doug Evans still tucked in behind Jared.
Yeah, look at the line that the 77 of Tristan Callahan's running. That kind of seems to be the disruptor here for the 42. He's running not up in the second groove, but not down against the yellow line either. So he's kind of running like 1.5 grooves up the track, which is probably interrupting the area where the 42 of Zemke wants to be running.
Here we right on board with Doug Evans, who carried a little bit too much speed through 3 and 4, unable to get the run on Jared Mogard, but he's going to go to the bottom side, coming off the corner. He's going to try to make a move here on Jared Mogard, whose front tires look like they might be giving up from having run that bottom side a little bit too much there, but Doug unable to keep the momentum there on the bottom side as Jared Mogard uses the top side to regain the position. There's a lot of back and forth here, Chris. It's looking like some pretty exciting racing for these drivers.
Yeah, I got to say the 41 of Evans really did a great job on that crossover. It didn't quite work out, but if it hadn't been for one little slip-up, I think otherwise his execution was pretty spot on.
Don't worry, folks. We are keeping our eyes on the lead. Bradley Holly, being patient as always, has not made a move on Thomas Sink quite yet. And all of our top 10 drivers are within about 2 seconds of one another right now on track. So very, very close racing out here at Kentucky as Bradley Holly chases down Thomas Sink. He has not been eager to make the pass there.
Yeah, you got to wonder with the way Bradley Holly has been stalking Thomas Sink. This might be a little of a cat and mouse game, but this could also be Tom and Jerry.
For sure, it's a whole different scenario there. We can talk about those two different scenarios for sure, but Bradley Holly is definitely hanging right to the rear bumper of Thomas Sink. It's possible. I mean, these drivers are, fill up the trucks to 100% fuel at the beginning of the race, but do you think Bradley Holly's trying to save some fuel and maybe some tires tucked in like that behind Thomas Sink?
It wouldn't be a dumb strategy by any stretch of the imagination to try to get a little bit more mileage out of that truck, because the more you save early on, the less you have to fill up later. And when every second counts, having just a couple seconds less of fuel to have to put in the truck is definitely a huge help.
Jared Mogart trying to make another move on Adam Zemke for the 5th position. Zemke unable to keep the momentum on the high side this time by, and actually right in behind Bradley Holly and Thomas Sink. Daniel Knight just clipped the outside wall just a little bit there, and here comes Doug Evans looking to the bottom side of Adam Zemke. Zemke wanted to go down there, but Doug stuck his nose in, and that meant both of them kind of lose momentum out of the corner, and here comes Colton Lane to try and make a pass around Doug Evans on the outside for 6th.
Yeah, Colton Lane started a little bit deeper than we expected. Himself being back in 11th spot, and he was trying to make his way up towards the front, kind of stalled out there around the 7th position for the moment, but he's going to work on Doug Evans, and looks like he may even have the position here.
All right, as they come to the line, we'll be having completed 20 of the 85 laps scheduled for this race for sure, and Daniel Knight's pace up there in the 3rd position has fallen off significantly. Tristan Callahan is actually looking on him right now, trying to see whether or not he can size him up for a pass.
We got to wonder if maybe the tires are a little worn out on that 17 machine. He made a lot of passes early on, and to make that many passes, you can't really just putter around the track. You got to put your foot into it. Woo. And looks like he just barely avoided scraping the wall there.
And moves like that are what's going to make Tristan Callahan lick his lips for sure. He's going to be looking for a move possibly to make there on Daniel Knight. But as these tires start to wear, track position becomes more and more important, especially around these 1.5 mile tracks, no matter what the layout is. It's really hard to make a pass as those front tires start to wear out.
That's a very fair point. These guys that have made the moves early on, maybe in the catbird seat as we get close to the first pit stop.
Jared Mogart now sneaking up to the back of Tristan Callahan. He's going to join the fight for the 3rd position. So it's a 3-way battle for 3rd at this point between Daniel Knight, Tristan Callahan, and Jared Mogart.
This is very much a cream rising to the top scenario. A lot of the drivers that we talk about week in and week out have really made their way up towards the front of the field, and it's turning into a pretty good race, Adam.
And Adam Zemke tried to make a move there on Colton Lane after Colton was able to get past him on the front stretch. Just got a little bit of momentum back and tried to make the move there, but Colton Lane able to position his truck in a way that's able to prevent that from happening. Looks like Bradley Holly's starting to fall off the back of Thomas Sink, and these trucks are all starting to spread out a little bit more as the tires get older.
Yeah, track position is going to be a very big role right here, Adam, as these guys are almost spreading themselves out to the point where maybe you got to wonder what's going through their heads right now, whether it's conservation or just the race playing out.
This is the tightest battle we have on track right now between Adam Zemke and Charles Sumner. Charles Sumner almost giving Adam Zemke a push through the corner. Doug Evans looks for an opportunity, but he can't get the truck to turn in right there. Brendan Shatley tucked in behind Doug Evans, trying to make a move there. Charles Sumner's going to look to the bottom side of Adam Zemke. Zemke's going to stay up high and try and carry speed into the next corner. Doug Evans looking for an opportunity as well.
Yeah, Zemke pretty much the lone wolf on the outside line right now, trying to make some passes that way, but just unfortunately the tires may not be there for him as Charles Sumner gets by, and now the 41 of Evans looking to make a move as well.
Evans just can't get the truck to turn, though. He has to back out of it. That's going to allow Brendan Shatley to make his way by. Move Shatley up into the 9th position. So now as they run, Thomas Sink in the lead, Bradley Holly in 2nd, Daniel Knight 3rd, Tristan Callahan 4th, Colton Lane in 5th position, and Jared Mogart just made a move, I believe. Colton Lane just made a move on Jared Mogart, so his tires are definitely going at it.
Yeah, Mogart beginning to fade back a little bit as Colton Lane continues his charge up from the 11th spot. Now finds himself breaking into the top 5, so tremendous run for driver number 60.
Yeah, Mogart just cannot get the truck to turn either, and Bradley Holly has started to fall into the clutches of Daniel Knight for the 2nd position. Holly's tires starting to go. Daniel Knight starting to smell blood in the water as well. You see them up ahead of the colorful truck of Tristan Callahan in 4th.
gotta wonder if maybe Holly trying to push Thomas Sink early on maybe used up the good on his tires a little bit earlier than he expected.
So everything coming back around for Daniel Knight, who used up his tires on the outside a little bit early, but he's been running very calm and consistent laps. And with only an 80-degree track temperature right now, 27 degrees Celsius, it's possible that he could have recovered any tire temperature that he overdid throughout the beginning of that run, and maybe that's why he was backing off into the clutches of Tristan Callahan early. And as we ride on board with him, looking up towards Bradley Holly, he definitely looks like he has an opportunity here. Oh, and we have a wreck in the back of the field. That is John LaBaff almost getting sent around. John LaBaff is able to keep it going straight, but that was very, very close moments there for him. He made some significant contact with a couple of trucks and almost got sent around off of the corner.
Well, Adam, there's going to be a few drivers disappointed this one did not result in a caution.
For sure. You're going to see John LaBaff here, and that was, I think that was the 0-2 truck of Baron Hilton that ended up getting up into him. John LaBaff really talented to keep the thing going straight, even though he hits the wall a couple times. That's going to keep the track green right now, but he's going to lose a lot of time and have to go into the pits for some repairs at this point.
Yeah, it's going to make that truck very much not fun for John LaBaff to drive, but I think he deserves a round of applause for being able to keep that truck going forward. As we have a battle for position there, Colton Lane continuing to march his way up through the field. Gets now around Tristan Callahan. That's going to give him 4th position. And maybe Colton Lane saves something here in the early parts of this segment of the race, because he is seeming to be in a different gear than everybody else.
Colton Lane definitely saved his stuff, and he's able to turn that truck a little bit more, get that front end a little bit more pointed off of the corners. That's able to give him a nice pull of about a 1/10 per lap. But look at this up ahead of them. That's Daniel Knight trying the outside around Bradley Holly. It got a little bit close there going into the entry of 1, so he had to back out of it. But this is just going to make Colton Lane even more excited, because if these two start battling, he has even more of an opportunity to jump his way up to 2nd place.
Yeah, it popped open GSRC TV here because I'm that guy, and it looks like Colton Lane and Daniel Knight both running significantly quicker laps than what we're seeing up front.
For sure, Daniel Knight, he's really looking hungry on the back of Bradley Holly. You see through the windshield of Colton Lane, who's now right up on the back of Daniel Knight. I'd expect Colton Lane to make a move on Daniel in the next couple of corners, and because Colton is just moving so quickly right now. Colton Lane, he is up to 4th from 11th position, and now he's looking on the inside of Daniel Knight as they exit 4.
Yeah, Colton Lane legitimately the fastest truck on the track that last lap, and you can see he is charging now as he gets to the back of our point leader Daniel Knight.
Daniel Knight and Bradley Holly, the 2 trucks ahead of him, they are battling for 1 and 2 in the points championship right now. Colton Lane is a little bit further back, but he's got an amazing truck tonight and an amazing understanding of the strategy that's necessary to keep going on these green flag runs. Look at him dive that truck to the yellow line. He just can't keep the foot in it quite enough there, but Daniel Knight looking like he's rushing up just a little bit off of the corner. He actually just barely scrapes the wall there. Bradley Holly, though, under pressure. Here comes Daniel Knight looking down to the inside. They're going to battle for 2nd place.
This is turning into such a great battle for these top, basically 2nd through 4th right now. Daniel Knight working to the inside of Bradley Holly, and Holly doing everything he can to run on the outside. Looks like Colton Lane is going to run in the wake of the 184, possibly giving him a bit of a boost as he heads off into turn number 3.
Colton Lane looking at these 2 trucks. Daniel Knight, just cannot keep the speed going on that bottom lane. Colton Lane, though, sees a gap through the middle. He takes a look at it. He's actually going to opt to take the line of Bradley Holly there on that high side, maybe try to go by Daniel Knight on that high side. Daniel carries a lot of speed through 1 and has to put on the brakes a little bit through the center, but Bradley Holly unable to carry the momentum off of the corner. Colton Lane's trying to look for somewhere to go. He thinks better of 3 wide at this point in the race. 34 laps complete as we come to the line this time. Daniel Knight pushing up a little bit towards Bradley as they go through 3 and 4. Oh, he's going to have to back off of it a little bit there, but Colton Lane unable to capitalize right in behind them.
This has got to be so frustrating for Colton Lane. He's definitely a decent amount faster than the 2 trucks in front of him, but just nowhere to go.
Only with a great exit this time off of 2. He's going to look to the bottom side of Daniel Knight and put Daniel on the high side. We know Daniel prefers to be up there. Daniel Knight's going to try and turn it down towards the yellow line, but he's going to have to follow in line with Bradley Holly, who stays up in that high side. Colton Lane unable to get the speed down through the corner. He's going to have to back out of it.
Yeah, Colton Lane definitely looks strong there, but Daniel Knight has been doing a great job on the outside line all night long so far. So that was definitely going to be a hard way to get around it.
So as they run, Thomas Sink in first, Bradley Holly's in second place, Daniel Knight's running in third, Colton Lane in fourth position, Tristan Callahan down in fifth. We jump up to Thomas Sink, who's just been running a very consistent race up at the front of this field, and we're going to cross the line and be 36 laps into this thing. When did these guys start thinking about tires?
Well, the way these trucks seem to be driving, I imagine it would be soon. Looks like things are definitely getting less and less fun as the laps go on.
Thomas Sink, though, running very consistent laps, 33.137 his last. His best was a 31.245. And here we go, back to Adam Zemke, who's still under challenge from Doug Evans. Doug just unable to make the pass on him. Go through 3 and 4. Doug Evans with a decent run off of the corner. He's going to look to the bottom side here of Adam Zemke. Zemke's going to try and cover it off. Doug is going to take a look to the bottom side. He's going to actually get underneath him. Here we go into the corner, but look at the speed that Zemke's able to carry through the corner there. And Doug Evans has to back off in order not to slide up into him.
Yeah, these trucks are beginning to be a handful as they try to pass on the bottom side. It's hard to keep the wheels down.
So we've had our first pit taker for a normal pit stop. That's William Lee. It did make him go a lap down. He's just pulling off of the pit lane now. We take a look once again up towards P2. This is between Bradley Holly and Daniel Knight. Daniel Knight looking very racy right now. He's actually going to almost make contact with the rear bumper there of Bradley Holly as they come off of 1 and 2.
Yeah, Daniel Knight had a great run going into the turn and probably had to back off of it a little bit. Now he looks to the inside, and Bradley Holly not shutting the door, but definitely keeping it tight.
Daniel Knight is definitely going to try and get his way by one way or another. I think Daniel's going to have to try and get him on the outside if he's going to try and make this work, because Bradley Holly's just been able to hold position there, and they're actually starting to catch up a little bit to Thomas Sink. The gap 0.6 as they go into this corner. And right behind them, though, the battle for 5th position between Jared Mogart, Tristan Callahan, and Charles Sumner is starting to heat up. These guys are now side by side as they head into 3 and 4.
Yeah, this 3-truck battle is definitely heating up. Mogard running that blocking line there in between the upper and lower groove as he pushes way up the track.
Daniel Knight just hit the outside wall coming off of 3 and 4. Colton Lane able to get by. And here comes Tristan Callahan down to the bottom side there of Jared Mogard. Unable to make it work. Jared was able to close the door.
So Colton Lane does not look happy with staying in 3rd spot. He's already putting it to the 184. Bradley Holly trying to make a move for 2nd.
Well, it's a lot easier to pass one truck than it is to pass 2 who are running in line. And Tristan Callahan, we have our first pit takers from the lead pack. Tristan Callahan and Charles Sumner into the pit lane as we see the battle go side by side for the 2nd position. Colton Lane and Bradley Holly through 3 and 4. 1 and 2, rather.
Yeah, Colton Lane running way down at the bottom of the track, so he'll get a little more shallow approach to turn number 3. Looks like that momentum on the outside going to pull Bradley Holly back ahead. Oh, is the 60 coming to pit road?
And so is the 17. Daniel Knight coming to pit road as well. He's able to hit his mark. So Daniel Knight passing Colton Lane on the entrance of pit road. That's going to leave Thomas Sink and Bradley Holly up there still running as Adam Zemke and Adam Shane also go by. Daniel Knight, Colton Lane, Jared Mogard, Doug Evans, Brandon Walter, Matthew Aubrey all into the pits.
So now we got to wonder how much of an advantage fresh tires are going to be as far as and as far as our leader actually comes to pit road to eliminate the point I was trying to make.
Thomas Sink and Bradley Holly both come into the pits, but is the damage done already? And also, what about their pace into pit lane? We know Bradley Holly is really good in and out of the pits. That's where he made his time and won our second race of the season. Can he do it again? Adam Young is our first truck to have taken tires, and he's actually going to jump up to second place here. So it's going to be a hard work for Thomas Sink and Bradley Holly to try and make their way by. We're taking a look right now at Adam Young as he's running right now. Baron Hilton is provisionally in the lead, but he has yet to take his pit stop. So Adam Young is our fastest truck to have taken a stop so far. And Bradley Holly did jump Thomas Sink in pit lane.
Well, that's going to be a game changer for sure. This is a move that's won Bradley Holly races before.
Oh, and Daniel Knight passed Bradley Holly in on the pit stop cycle. So did Colton Lane. Tristan Callahan is side by side with him as Bradley Holly comes out of the pit lane, and they're going to go side by side. Tristan's going to win out on that one.
Well, that's definitely a turn of events.
It definitely is, Chris. This has changed everything. The complexion of this race has changed as they go by the lap truck of Brandon Sauls on the high side. This is actually going to compromise Tristan Callahan's exit and give Bradley Holly an opportunity. Tristan Callahan actually blocks off Holly a little bit there, but Bradley's going to be able to get to the inside, and he's going to use those fresh tires to as much advantage as he possibly can and put Tristan Callahan to the outside. That's going to make him go extremely wide, and it looks like we have a yellow flag on the track. That's Doug Evans. Doug Evans, who was fighting so hard for those top 10 positions, is now slow on the backstretch in the 41 truck.
Yeah, that's a tough break. Looks like... Ooh, Doug maybe was... Take a look here. He's caught the end of it.
Yeah, this was between himself and the 3-1-2 of Austin Hunter as they go through the corner. Looks like Doug thought he was clear, turned down to exit, and then ended up getting collected by Christopher B. Williams, unfortunately. He managed to avoid one wreck, but not two.
Yeah, unfortunately, you only have so much luck in one race, and looks like Christopher B. Young's luck has maybe dried up a little bit.
So, as they run, Adam Young up there in the lead spot, but he's on 41 lap-old tires. Daniel Knight in second, Colton Lane in third, Tristan Callahan fourth, and Bradley Holly in fifth. The rest of those have run very limited laps on their new, fresh sets of rubber.
Now, this does kind of pose an interesting scenario with Adam Young out in front. And all the different drivers we've seen that have taken pit stops at different times. So we have a bunch of tires that have different levels of use on them. And the way the next couple cautions play out could definitely have huge implications on how the rest of this race goes.
So Young does come to pit lane. That's going to release all of the lapped trucks that were between Young and Daniel Knight. That's a decent amount, about 10. So Daniel Knight will jump up to our lead with Colton Lane in second, Tristan Callahan third, and Bradley Holly fourth, Thomas Sink in fifth. This will be a very, very interesting restart, Chris.
Yeah, it seems like the game has really changed just in these last couple laps with Daniel Knight, Colton Lane, and Tristan Callahan all getting by Bradley Holly, taking away the advantage from the pit stop. Thomas Sink all the way back in sixth after leading all those laps early on. I mean, things have really taken a turn here in the last couple laps.
And the trouble for Bradley Holly is that his tires are only one lap younger than the rest of the fields. So he's not going to have as much of an advantage as I think he hoped he would coming in for that late pit stop, and he lost a couple positions because of it.
Yeah, that caution probably could have fallen at a better time as far as he's concerned.
So for those of you who are fans of Adam Young, his late pit stop, pitting under this caution, did not hurt him that much. He comes out of the pits in the 9th position.
And I believe he should have tires that are at least a few laps quicker, or a few laps newer than everybody else. So maybe we could see Adam sneak up there here later on with the better tire strategy.
He will have company, though. Other drivers who took to pit lane with him: Brendan Chatley, Jared Mogard in 11th, Charles Sumner 12th, Adam Zemke in 13th, and Austin Hunter in 14th. Those are some fast drivers, Chris.
Yeah, and I got to give Jared Mogard credit for trying something a little bit different than those others running up front as well.
So the lap trucks will be released probably next time by when the pace car lights go off. So if you are Bradley Holly down in the 4th position and you have your championship rival and current championship leader Daniel Knight in first, how do you get to him? Do you play the patient game and try and make passes later on in the run like Colton Lane did? Or do you try and get past as many people and get right to his rear bumper as quickly as possible?
From my mindset, I think the patience game is going to be the winning strategy. Look at how easy it was for Colton Lane to get by so many trucks here in the latter stages of that run, just because he saved his stuff early on. And we were sitting here thinking that maybe he was DOA in this race. And then around 20 laps to go or so, he just turned up the wick and was able to just blow by so many people just because he took better care of his equipment. And that seems to be what's going to be the quick way around Kentucky today.
And speaking of blowing by so many people, Barron Hilton in the 8th position. Barron started in 30th position. He started last. He had a penalty that put him last on the grid. He is now up to 8th spot. That is an impressive run, for sure. So Barron Hilton doing his level best to try and improve his chances, and he's on the same pit strategy as the drivers up ahead of him. So he's not any worse for wear due to that strategy call.
Yeah, that's one way to bounce back from a penalty for sure.
So we're still under pace laps here at Kentucky Motor Speedway with the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series sponsored by Diecast Kings. And this could really throw a wrench in the plans for our championship, last year's championship winner Bradley Holly, who's got his championship contender Daniel Knight in the lead. Thomas Sink, who used to be teammates with Bradley on the Whataback machine, is in 5th, right in behind Bradley Holly. He was leading the race all the way up until this last caution, in which case then the pit strategy worked out for Daniel Knight, Colton Lane, and Tristan Callahan, who got up ahead of them. But Thomas Sink getting jumped in the pit lane by Bradley Holly, we thought that would be the death knell for the race, because Bradley, when he gets out front, can be a very staunch competitor.
Yeah, it turns out the strategy worked out a little bit better for a few other people. But I'm interested to see what Thomas Sink does now that he's in the mix and not just leading the field.
Well, as we get ready to go back to green flag, I do want to mention our race sponsor one more time. This is iRacing Flea Market. iRacing Flea Market is the place to go for buying and selling sim racing equipment, boasting the largest sim racing buy-sell group with over 20,000 members. Be sure to join and look around today. Their link is in our description, and you can take a look at them. iRacing Flea Market, the #1 sim racing page on Facebook. So, the trucks now go double file in behind the pace car, the Mustang pace car. All of the lap trucks get their lap back as they run around, and that's going to leave Daniel Knight in control of the field.
Yeah, this is a totally new dynamic up front, and I'm really excited to see how this plays out.
We have a lot of hungry drivers tucked in behind these front two. Daniel Knight, though, is one of the hungriest because he's in the best position to take points away from Bradley Holly, our 3-time running points champion in the PRL Truck Series. He's got the best chance to challenge him since probably about 2 seasons back. So Daniel Knight is really in a good spot to make some good moves here.
Yeah, and he's looked strong the entirety of this season so far. I'm really excited to see what he has to say for the rest of this race and really the rest of this season.
So the pace lights are out on the Mustang pace car, and it gets ready to pull off. Daniel Knight will have control of the field. Thomas Sink waited until the restart zone. Let's see what Daniel Knight does. Pace car pulls off. Daniel Knight is in control. He's going to wait. He's going to wait. Colton Lane's going to pull up a little bit further alongside. He actually puts a nose ahead, and that's when Daniel Knight decides to jump. Colton Lane left, hoping on the outside. Bradley Holly hoping as well. He's going to get a little bit tucked under with Tristan Callahan looking to his inside. Colton Lane ducks down to the bottom side on the second position. Daniel Knight's going to have a nice arc into the corner here, and it looks like we're under yellow again. That's Adam Shane who's gone around. It was a stack up in the back of the field.
Well, that's a tough break for Adam Shane. He had a tremendous run in qualifying earlier, and I was really hoping to see him back up his performance in the race tonight.
And this was all due to, Adam Shane looks like he had just had a cold tire situation. He ended up spinning himself out, unfortunately, on the restart here. Yeah, there we see the aftermath of it here, and we're going to see him just on that low side. He's right on the transition from turn 3 to the backstretch, to the front stretch rather, and he comes up over that crest, puts the power down, and the rear wheels just come out from under him.
Yeah, one thing, the banking does drop off a little bit when you get to the straightaway here, and that can be a little tricky when you're picking your spot to put the hammer down.
So while this does re-rank everything, it does change the complexion up front. Daniel Knight still leads, Colton Lane is still in second, but Bradley Holly will now line up behind Daniel Knight in the third spot. Tristan Callahan will line up in fourth, and Brandon Walter in fifth. And Chris, I think this is the last thing that Daniel Knight was hoping to see.
Yeah, he did a really good job on that last restart, and with the drivers around him right now, that's not an easy task by any stretch of the imagination. And he's probably hoping to get a successful restart under his belt and then keep racing for the remainder of the event. But now he's got to re-rack them and try again. And it's hard to be that good on a restart that many times in a row.
We're running lap 54 of 85. We're very close on the time estimate. The estimate I'm getting right now is 57 minutes. So this is going to be very tight to the end of the race. If we get one more caution, that will put us likely over the line. We see William Lee in the Lucky Dog truck getting ready to go by. So he will most likely end up going by the pace car very shortly. But Chris, as we get closer to the end of this time frame, we might see another one of those crazy one-lap green-white checkers.
I would not be disappointed by that at all. Every time we've seen one, it's been absolute insanity. So I can't say I'd be super disappointed if we made it to that point.
So in this pit cycle, we had a couple of trucks take to pit lane for some extra tires. Nicholas Hunter in the 18th spot, Nicholas Schwartz in the 19th spot, and then Adam Shane obviously with the contact with the wall. So those two drivers, Nicholas Hunter and Nicholas Schwartz in 18th and 19th, they had previous issues that they had to deal with. They were involved in some of the earlier accidents, so they took some extra repairs and some extra tires getting ready to go for this restart.
So with another chance at it, how do you think Daniel Knight's going to do on this restart?
I'm not sure he's going to wait quite as long this time because he's got to beat two people off the blocks. He's got to beat Colton Lane on the outside. He's also got to beat Bradley Holly that's tucked in right behind him. He's going to have to try and catch Bradley Holly out with this restart, and that's going to be a real challenge. I guess what he wants to do is he might even try and keep Colton Lane out there, so he might try and do a predictable restart to try and make sure that Colton Lane challenges Bradley Holly for the second spot off of 1 and 2.
That would be a very smart move. I think that outside line is shown to be not super strong right out of the block, so if he can keep Colton to his outside and not allow Colton to get clear into the bottom like he did that last restart, it may actually end up giving him more room to breathe long term.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he decides to do. One thing to note is that Daniel Knight does have some significant, well, I would say significant, but it wasn't affecting his speed, but he has some damage to the front right of that machine. It's got a little bit of a tear in the front right corner, and that's actually causing him to have a little bit of issues right now as he decides to join the pace car driver in the spot. So if you're Colton Lane, Chris, how do you tackle this particular restart? Do you just try and beat him off the line, or are you trying to get back down to the low side like we saw last time?
I feel like if he can't just outrun him right on the restart, I think what he did the last time is the smart move. Let him get a little bit ahead and drop to the bottom as quick as you can, because it's kind of shown that outside line takes a couple laps before it really comes in and you're able to drive away.
So we will be looking very, very closely at the clock throughout the rest of this race, because based upon the predictions that I'm seeing, when we go around this next time, we will enter into a timed race scenario. So it will be very, very close to see whether or not they can make it to the end on laps or on time. And who does that benefit most? That kind of a question benefits most the man in the lead, Daniel Knight.
That's right. The less laps we have to run and the less time we have left to run is definitely going to play in the hands of the guy that's sitting out front.
So as they run right now, Daniel Knight in the lead, Colton Lane in second, Bradley Holly third, Tristan Callahan is in fourth, Brandon Walter in the fifth spot, Thomas Sink all the way back to sixth. He did not move up quite as much as Bradley Holly on that restart, unfortunately. Baron Hilton up to seventh spot, Matthew Aubrey in eighth, Brendan Chatley in ninth, and Adam Young rounds out your top 10 as the trucks go double file and get ready to go for another restart.
So Adam, looks like we got a real barn burner of a restart set up here. Just pretty much all the names this series is known for. We have all right there up towards the front of the field. Also Brandon Walter with a pretty solid run up there in the top 5. First time he's been up there this tonight. And just a slew of talent and a lot of drivers that have really put on a good show tonight. And I'm excited to see how these last 20 or so laps play out.
So as they come to the line, the prediction is about an hour for this race, so that will mean that we will likely be timed when we come to the green flag. We're just crossed into the 44th minute of this race, so we have about 16 minutes to go. We'll keep our eyes on that and keep you apprised as the trucks go through turns 3 and 4 and get ready to get going on the restart. They will cross the line to start the 58th lap of this race out of 85. But they likely won't make it to the full 85 as the pace car pulls off Daniel Knight, looking to see what he does here. Colton Lane trying to figure out. Oh, wow. Daniel Knight gets a great jump. Colton Lane gets a bad restart on the top side. This is going to allow Bradley Holly to the inside there. This could be bad news for Daniel Knight if he was hoping to have Bradley Holly and Colton Lane battle through 1 and 2, because Bradley Holly has the position as he dives it down. Colton Lane unable to make it work, and Bradley Holly coming with a head of steam on that low side. Ooh, contact between the two of them as Bradley Holly gets into the rear bumper of Daniel Knight. Daniel being very defensive as they go into 3 and 4. Bradley Holly loses some pace, but now he's got it back and he's got it tagged down to that yellow line. He's going to try and make the pass on the inside as they exit 3 and 4. As they cross the stripe, Bradley Holly will lead here at Kentucky.
Well, there are 2 championship contenders right now duking it out on the track. A very aggressive move by Holly, and now Daniel Knight gets back to the bottom of the track. He's going to look to the inside of Holly as they come off of turn 2.
Daniel Knight on the low side, Bradley Holly on the high side. We know how good the high side is through 3 and 4 later in a run, but these tires have not run that many laps. So Bradley Holly holding it strong out there. He's going to be able to power it off the corner and maintain some momentum. Daniel Knight unable to make it past Bradley Holly. They're going to cross the line. Bradley Holly still leads, and now we got Colton Lane looking on in the 3rd spot.
Colton Lane just looking for somewhere to go right now, Adam, as our top 2 drivers remain in lockstep with each other. As they come off of turn 2, Colton Lane probably has the best view of this battle of anybody as they drag race down the backstretch. It's going to be a dead heat as we head into turn number 3.
And now Tristan Callahan's looking to the bottom of Colton Lane through 3 and 4. Daniel Knight's going to be able to make the move, but here comes Bradley Holly with the crossover once again. Bradley trying to put the power to Daniel Knight. Daniel has to weave a little bit to stay off of the door of Bradley Holly. This might give him the advantage going into 1 and 2. Here they go into the corner. Bradley Holly does lead into the corner. Daniel Knight has to dive it down, back down to the yellow line. And here comes Thomas Sink out of nowhere, making the pass on Tristan Callahan for the 4th spot. He's on some fresher tires, and he's looking to challenge these guys up for the lead.
It's been a couple laps. The trucks are wound up, and they're going to try the outside. You see Daniel Knight now peek to the outside of Bradley Holly for the top spot. Holly able to keep him behind, as now Tristan Callahan looking to fight back on Thomas Sink for that 4th position.
Daniel Knight under that yellow line, trying to look on the low side of Bradley Holly, maybe make him go down there, but that's going to slow him up into the corner. He gets a little bit loose going into 1 and 2. Here comes Colton Lane on that bottom side. He looks at the high side. Daniel Knight comes off the bottom to block him off, and now Colton Lane down at the low side, trying to make the pass for second place on the bottom of 3 and 4. They go deep into the corner. Daniel Knight almost makes contact with Bradley Holly. Here they go through 3 and 4. Tight racing for sure, but look at that. It's still going to be 1, 2, 3. Bradley Holly, Daniel Knight, and Colton Lane as they cross the line.
Daniel Knight once again looks to the outside. He's been one of the deadlier drivers up there so far tonight, as Colton Lane waiting for one of them to make a mistake so he can pounce. Right now he runs just a little bit into the back of the 184 of Bradley Holly, giving him a shove down that back straightaway.
Daniel Knight's going to hug Bradley Holly through 3 and 4 on that high side as the tires just cannot find purchase there on the right sides. He's able to maintain a little bit of momentum there coming off the corner. He's going to pull a little bit here on Bradley Holly as they go through. Very intense racing from all these drivers. The top 5 underneath 0.2 of a second here. These guys very close racing for the lead.
I mean, you could see right there how close these two are getting to each other, not making contact, but I think if an inch one way or the other, those two are right on each other.
2 weeks in a row, rinse and repeat. Bradley Holly and Daniel Knight door to door for the lead of the race, for the lead of the championship. We saw it last week. We're seeing it here this week. Daniel Knight will lead this lap. We have about 11 minutes to go in this race. Colton Lane looking on in third. Thomas Sink fourth. Tristan Callahan in fifth.
And how about a testament to the talent of these two drivers? They raced exactly the same 1 week ago at Lucas Oil Raceway. This track here tonight could not be any more different from Lucas Oil here in Kentucky. And Colton Lane once again looking to get his nose mixed up in that battle.
We're getting word that they should make it if there's not a yellow to the lap completion. This will be very, very close on time. We'll keep you apprised of it for sure, but they're still side by side. This is the 4th lap in a row. Thomas Sink and Colton Lane looking on. Tristan Callahan trying to find a way by as well. All these drivers just waiting to see whether or not these top 2 will wreck themselves. Colton Lane once again stuck behind 2 drivers battling side by side. Bradley Holly though gets a better exit off of 1 and 2. He's going to try and pull it through on the backstretch, but look at that. Daniel Knight so strong on that high side. Bradley Holly just cannot keep it down on the yellow line. He's going to drift up a little bit there. Daniel Knight with a run off of the corner. They're still going to be side by side for 1 more lap crossing. 66 laps down.
Adam, this racing is absolutely insane right now. These two still right glued to each other. Bradley Holly now with a bit of an advantage as they head off of turn 2, but we've seen this dance before.
This might give an opportunity to Colton Lane, though, in that 3rd spot. He's going to take a look, but he's not going to be able to do anything here. Look at that. Daniel Knight looking down to that bottom line. He's actually going to come up a little bit close to the rear bumper of Bradley Holly. If he makes contact with that left rear, that would send Bradley Holly around. I know that's not how Daniel Knight wants to win a race. Here comes Colton Lane, though, with a good advantage on Daniel Knight, but he has to actually back out of it. So here comes Thomas Sink now up to the 4th position. A little bit of contact there going into the corner, but Daniel Knight able to keep it down. Wow, these top 3 trucks underneath 0.2 of a second.
It's really hard to pick out which one of the 3 is running the best right now, Adam. These guys are absolutely killing it out there.
Colton Lane makes a little bit of a nudge on Daniel Knight, sends him up the hill just a little bit. Colton Lane trying to get on the bottom side, but he just can't carry the momentum off the corner. Here comes Thomas Sink in the 4th spot, licking his chops. He's been able to make his way past a couple of trucks to start this restart. Daniel Knight looks to the high side on Bradley Holly once again through 1 and 2.
Daniel Knight, one of the best drivers in that outside line here at Kentucky, thinks better of it. Backs down to the bottom of the track. He'll be right in the tire tracks on the 184.
Bradley Holly's racing skills have definitely led him to be in a position to where he knows exactly where he needs to run to maintain that lead. Daniel Knight, though, looks like he's backing off a little bit. He might be doing what he did in the last green flag run and trying to find a way to cool down those tires, but now he looks to the low side, making Bradley Holly make a little bit of an evasive action here. Colton Lane looking to the inside of Daniel Knight. He's going to try and stick his nose in. Daniel Knight blocks it off, though, but look at that. Daniel Knight clipping the apex just a little bit there. That's going to send him up the hill. Colton Lane trying to make a move on the inside. Thomas Sink looks to the outside of Colton Lane. He's going to think about it going into 3 and 4, but they're all still going to be line abreast as they go through the corner.
Colton Lane was definitely going to give it a shot, but he's got Thomas Sink basically riding his tailpipe right now as he pulls to the inside.
Now they have some lap trucks. We got Christopher B. Williams, the truck who's avoided 2 wrecks today. Hopefully he doesn't cause one this time. Thomas Sink, though, on the inside of Colton Lane for the 3rd position. Thomas with so much power into that truck. He saved his tires for sure, and he's able to make it work. Bradley Holly, though, gets held up by the lap truck of Christopher B. Williams, but Daniel Knight is unable to do anything with it. Thomas Sink, though, up to 3rd, and he's challenging Daniel Knight now for the 2nd position, and he's got some tires underneath him. He's powering it off the corner.
Thomas Sink pitted a little bit later than all of these other top runners, and he's now trying to put those tires to use, let these guys fight it out a little bit and use up their stuff. And now with his tire advantage, he moves to the inside of Daniel Knight. A pretty bold move there, but nonetheless, Thomas Sink is going to have the position as they come off the turn 2.
Thomas Sink does have the position, and now he's got Bradley Holly up ahead of him. Former teammate Bradley and Thomas have duked out multiple races in the past. A little bit of contact there between Daniel Knight and Thomas Sink going through the corner, but Thomas keeps his foot in it and is able to power out and still gain on Bradley Holly. Bradley Holly will lead. We're crossing into the 73rd lap of this race out of 85. Daniel Knight under even more pressure after losing that 2nd spot. He's now got Colton Lane underneath him here, and Colton Lane looking to try and make that move. He was unable to make a move on Daniel Knight and Bradley Holly when they were battling for 2nd, but he might be able to get 3rd from Daniel Knight.
Yeah, you got to think Daniel Knight might be a little bit tired right now. He and Bradley Holly were side by side for just so many laps. And who knows how much they used up as now Thomas Sink getting to make a look on the 184.
Thomas is very close in behind that 184 as Colton Lane unable to make the move on Daniel Knight. But look at Bradley Holly's pace off of the corner. He's able to carry a lot more speed through 1 and 2 than Thomas Sink is, tucked in right behind him. Come around the corner. We're coming around to 11 to go this time by. We're still getting word that the race is still predicted to finish under the completed lap. So we're crossing into our 75th lap of 85. If that crosses over into time, we will let you know. But so far, still looks good.
Yeah, we talked about this before, Adam. Some of these tracks that we expected to be kind of just standard issue races have been awfully exciting. This has been possibly the best race that has ever been seen at Kentucky Speedway here today.
Look at this, Thomas Sink with a great run off the corner. Bradley Holly not getting as much of an advantage as we've seen before. Thomas Sink gets to his inside. Thomas Sink using all of his tire just to try and keep it off of Bradley Holly through 3 and 4, but as they go into 1 and 2, he's going to stay about half a lane up off of the O-line, arc it into the corner a little bit there, and he's going to be able to get the pass. Thomas Sink to the lead of this race. Bradley Holly in 2nd.
Well, Thomas Sink played this last tire run absolutely perfectly. He had the tire advantage over everybody else as it was, but he really sat back and let these guys use up their equipment and was in the catbird seat there and just picked them off slowly but surely, and now finds himself back out in front. He absolutely played the tire game perfectly here today.
Don't think for a second that Bradley Holly's done challenging Thomas Sink for this lead position, but he did go side by side with Daniel Knight for a good 6 to 7, maybe even 10 laps. That's going to take it out of you, especially when he was the one on the inside. So that right front is very hot for him. But look at this, Daniel Knight starting to close up on the back of Bradley Holly once again. I don't know if he's going to have enough time, though. They cross the line. It's going to be 78 to go this time by. Wow, 78 to go. No. 78 complete this time by.
The way the racing's been, I wouldn't mind if they did another 78 laps, to be honest, Adam.
That being said, they do have to get the race in within the time frame. 8 to go this time by. Bradley Holly still trying to find a way to get up to Thomas Sink. It just looks like Thomas has the measure of the field right now. Back down for the 6th position, though, it's not quite so sure. Brandon Walter, Jared Mogard, Brendan Chatley, Charles Sumner, and Barron Hilton are a big wad of trucks right now as they battle off the corner. A little bit of contact between Jared Mogard and Brandon Walter is going to give Brandon Walter the position.
Jared Mogard under threat right now as he's going to try to make that truck as wide as possible here in the closing stages of the event.
Brandon Walter having just completed the pass. We have Brendan Chatley on those fresher tires. He's trying to take a look on Jared Mogard right there, right back there in that purple and green machine. Charles Summers, the one you see up high, being attempted to pass on Nicholas Hunter. And here we go. Take a look at this. Jared Mogard taking a look once again at Brandon Walter for that 6th position. Jared's going to go to the inside. Jared carrying speed through the corner. Wow, Brandon Walter has to back out of it significantly. Here comes Brendan Chatley on those fresher tires. He's going to be able to make the pass for the 7th spot now and put Brandon 2 spots down, but Brandon trying to be strong on that outside lane, but unable to do so. Brendan Chatley with those fresher tires, putting them to good use. Him and Jared Mogart are both 32 laps on their tires, whereas Brandon Walter 38 laps on those tires. 5 to go this time by.
Yeah, 6 laps is a pretty significant margin here as we take a look deeper in the field.
This is the battle for 16th position between Adam Zemke, Blaine Adams, and Jose Medina. Adam Zemke in that blue and green machine. They have 2 lap trucks of Brett Adams and Mike Richter up ahead of them, who are also battling for position, so they're not exactly going to be wanting to get out of the way right now. Hop back up to the front. We're going to jump on board with Daniel Knight, who's actually under pressure right now from Colton Lane, but you can see the gap between Bradley Holly and Thomas Sink on your screens right there. So Thomas Sink pulling away from Bradley Holly right now, and Colton Lane right on the back bumper of Daniel Knight, but he hasn't been able to make the pass yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, Colton Lane has been very fast and made a lot of passes here in the first segment of the race, but he's kind of struggled to make any forward movement here in this latter portion.
3 to go this time by for our leader, Thomas Sink. He's got Bradley Holly in second, Daniel Knight in third. Colton Lane is in fourth, and Tristan Callahan in fifth, just about 2 tenths behind Colton and Daniel.
Yeah, Thomas Sink definitely deserves a pat on the back for his the way he was able to patiently save his equipment there for the last part of this run, and really did a great job waiting things out to get out front.
Looks like Daniel Knight has geared himself up for maybe one more attempt on Bradley Holly, but it might be too little too late. He's just not able to gain the time. Thomas Sink, though, 2 to go this time by. He's heading onto the backstretch. He needs to make another 6 sets of quarters, and he will win his first race of the season here. Look at this, though. Daniel Knight is actually right up to the back of Bradley Holly here, and Colton Lane gets a little bit loose coming through 3 and 4. Daniel Knight might be trying to take that second spot away from Bradley Holly. This would be the deciding point between whether or not Bradley Holly gets the lead of the championship, ties for the lead of the championship, or Daniel Knight retains it going into the next round. But Thomas Sink up in the lead of this race. He's run a fantastic race after getting passed in the pit lane by Bradley Holly, and on an off strategy with the undercut working against him. Thomas Sink, with so much strength out there on his fresh tires, is able to power through, and Thomas Sink, as he exits 3 and 4, will win here at Kentucky Speedway with the Precision Racing League Truck Series. Bradley Holly gets second, Daniel Knight in third. What a race, Chris. I mean, 2 races in a row where we've seen the 2 championship leaders battle side by side for multiple laps, but Thomas Sink getting the win today. Fantastic racing out there.
Yeah, this was, like I said, this was probably the best race that's ever happened at Kentucky. Just so much action going on throughout the field, so many great battles for position, and cannot say enough great things about Bradley Holly and Daniel Knight in that battle they had up front there for what seemed like 10 laps.
Well, we are going to take a short break here on GSRC, but don't go anywhere. We will have the unofficial results and a couple of driver interviews for you shortly after this break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series here at Kentucky Motor Speedway, sponsored by Diecast Kings. And what a fantastic race. We had 2 races in a row with our championship points leaders duking it out side by side for multiple laps, but neither of them came home with the win today. That goes to Thomas Sink, who played the strategy perfectly and saved his tires till the exact right moment. Bradley Hawley will come home in second, with Daniel Knight falling off to third position towards the end of that race. Colton Lane was unable to pass Daniel Knight on the closing laps. He will come home in fourth, with Tristan Callahan once again, unfortunately, looking on in fifth position. Jared Mogard was able to climb his way back to sixth after starting 11th on that race start, with Brendan Chatley following him home in seventh position. Brandon Walter got trapped on the high side and pushed out to the 8th spot, with Barron Hilton finishing in the 9th position. Charles Sumner will round out your top 10.
Just outside of the top 10 was Matthew Aubrey in 11th, with Adam Shane fading to 12th after starting in second position. Nicholas Hunter with a great run up to 13th position, with Austin Hunter right behind him. Adam Young played the tire game, unfortunately was only able to get back up to 15th, with Nicholas Schwartz and J.R. Bash following him home. Adam Zemke, Jose Medina, and William Lee complete the top 20.
Stacy Hunter comes home in the 21st spot, with Blaine Adams having some trouble early on, coming home in 22nd spot. Then we have the drivers who had a lot of trouble. Brett Adams 1 lap down in 23rd, with Mike Richter and Christopher B. Williams. Then we have Doug Evans 2 laps down with John LaBaff, and then our 3 drivers who did not complete the race, Mark Kalin and Brandon Sauls, as well as Aaron Webb, will round out your top 30. And hey, if you'd like to have your company or your corporation sponsored here on the GSRC, we have some advertising options available. The channel boasts over 1 million global monthly impressions, and our branding opportunities include official series sponsorships, ad reads, race awards, and more. So you can see your name on the championship billboard here for the PRL NASCAR Truck Series if you'd like. Follow the link in the description to learn more. And we are joined right now by Thomas Sink, our winner. Thomas, you played that perfectly. How did you manage to keep your tires in check going into that final run and be able to pass all those trucks and make your way to the lead?
Just early lifting. I knew that Daniel and Brad were really racing it out, and I figured if they're going to race it out and back us all up, I'm going to back up the corners as much as possible and try not to arc it too much in the corners.
And coming into you led most of the laps this race, and coming into the pit stops, you were in the lead, but Bradley was able to jump you in the pits. Is he just that much better at pit entry and exit than the rest of the field, or do you think he had a slow stop?
So when I dumped the clutch, it kind of almost stalled out, so I had to push the clutch back in, and then when I gave it more gas, I ended up ripping the rear tires pretty good. So it was just that little bit of variance that caused me to lose a little speed leaving.
And then when you realized you were coming out in the 5th and 6th spots, was that a surprise to you with the undercut being so strong, or was that something that you expected?
It was neither kind of expected. It was kind of disappointing. It was like, I just put in all this hard work and now I'm back in the 5th and now I'm going to lose control of the race. But I figured if I just, again, backed up my corners, took it easy, that the tires would just kind of balance themselves out, and then I would have another advantage.
And how hard was it to make it past those top 5 drivers? Because they were definitely looking out their front windshields and not in their mirrors.
So once I got by Colton, I didn't want to pass Colton at first. I'm thinking team points, and Colton's been a teammate of mine for a while, so I was trying to back up and let him, get his top 3. And then when I realized I'm basically running 3/4 of a throttle, half throttle down the straightaways, I knew I had to go. So once I started getting around him, got the clean air, the truck just felt to my liking.
Well, Thomas, fantastic finish today. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, everyone at Whateback Racing, they were cheering me on at the end. It means a lot to be with, these guys from Whateback, and then also Rescue Racing, Brad with Stars and Stripes Realty, everyone at Trading Paints, you guys, of course, for putting on a great presentation, and then my girlfriend at home watching.
All right, thanks for talking to us, Thomas, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
You too, guys. See ya.
That was Thomas Sink, our winner, and Chris Phoebe has caught up with second place Bradley Hawley.
Well, Bradley, another great performance for you here today. I got to ask, that battle between you and Daniel Knight, where you guys were side by side for what felt like forever, that was just some tremendous racing. Can you tell us about it?
Oh, I was having the time of my life battling with him. I've talked with Daniel a couple of times. Telling him I can't wait to duke it out with him on the on track. But with Daniel having some right side damage, I felt like and being behind Thomas in the first stint, I felt like I needed to try to get out front as quickly as possible to try and get that aero push off my front nose, and ended up just killing my right front, fighting with Daniel for those few laps.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is as great as that battle was and as much fun as I'm sure it was for you, do you think that battle played a role in you not being able to seal the deal tonight and take the win?
Oh yeah, definitely. With the crossovers, being on the inside, being on outside, and just pushing like it's qualifying, fighting with Daniel, it definitely killed both our right fronts, and that's what made it so easy for Tom to get by me.
All right, now Bradley, anybody you want to thank to help make this top 3 finish tonight possible?
I'd like to thank the Waterback guys. As always, we practice week in, week out, trying to try to find the best strategies and all that. North Star Title for sponsoring me. Our season sponsors, Diecast Kings, and you guys for broadcasting us week in and week out.
Well, congratulations on another solid run, Bradley. Hope to talk to you again next week.
Thank you very much.
All right, and I believe Adam's catching up with our 3rd place finisher tonight, Daniel Knight.
Yeah, Daniel, we just talked to Thomas Sink about the side-by-side battle. Why don't you give us your perspective? That looks surely exciting out there.
Oh, yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was way more actual racing than I thought Kentucky was actually going to produce. So Bradley and I were just talking after the race that we were glad we finally got to race each other and not have something where, he wrecks out or I wreck out or something dumb happening. We actually got to go toe-to-toe there. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and talk to me about that second to last restart, the one that you barely got started on. I mean, you got a really good start on that one, and how much did it get to you when you saw the yellow flag come out so quickly?
Well, actually, I was thinking at that point, I hope this keeps happening, and then I can just win and not have to worry about it. But yeah, that one wasn't too bad, and then just kind of got settled back in. And really, that was a good practice for launching on semi-old tires, so I felt a little more confident the second time around. So it was a good little test for that.
And speaking of old tires, how dead was your right front after battling with Bradley Holly for about 10 laps?
Oh man, it was gone. I'm already abusive to right fronts, so actually having racing against Bradley, especially on the outside line, I didn't even look at the percentage. I don't think I want to.
Yeah, and Daniel, next week we head to New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and what are your thoughts on that track going into round 5?
That's a little more in my wheelhouse. I like the short, flatter tracks. So hopefully I can get on pole and control the race like I did last week at Lucas Oil Speedway, and we'll see. I think Bradley gets the points lead back after this one, or we might be tied. But as long as I keep finishing in front of him, I'll be happy.
All right, Daniel. Well, thanks for talking to us, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, Adam.
All right, that was Daniel Knight, our 3rd place finisher, and that will do us for today. We want to give a big thanks to the Precision Racing League for bringing us on for another season, and a big thank you to this season's sponsors, Diecast Kings, who sponsored the season, as well as the iRacing Flea Market for sponsoring this round. We will make sure to visit them at the link in the description, and the ButtKicker for sponsoring the entire league this season. We also want to give a big thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. As always, many thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our awesome opening and closing music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to today's crew, Sean, Chris, and Dougie. If you want to find out more about GSRC, including our upcoming races, you can find us at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Grant. And if you'd like to support the channel, go ahead and check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. The link is in the description below. If you want to see more racing action, hit that big red subscribe button as well so you don't miss a moment here on the Global SimRacing Channel. As mentioned, next race will be New Hampshire Motor Speedway. That's going to be July 15th, 8:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't miss it. Hopefully it's going to be just as good as these last two have been. We also have upcoming races for other series listed here on your screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendars. We hope you've enjoyed joining us tonight as much as we've enjoyed bringing this racing to you, and we hope to see you back on our channel soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on track.